Hello everyone, X4 here, and welcome to a tour covering all of the various topics within the latest issue of JoJo Magazine, which is the 4th issue, but will actually be my first video covering a JoJo magazine. So for some context, these are all about JoJo's bizarre adventure, its author Hirohiko Araki and us the readers just celebrating the series, that started releasing back in March of 2022, and since then have contained a wide variety of features, such as spin-off mangas, short stories, fun facts about the series, interviews, fan projects, quizzes, and much more. So it's, as the slogan suggests, a magazine for all JoJo lovers, and we have a ton of great features in this release, so I just had to cover it. So let's jump into this latest issue. The first feature of the magazine is all about Araki's first public art piece that was unveiled earlier this year in the summer, The Fountain Boy, which was hand-painted piece by piece and resides outside the west entrance of the Osaka railway station. So if anyone's planning a trip to Japan soon, this might be an attraction you want to check out. The artwork depicts the Fountain Boy, which pays homage to the original sculpture that had been displayed at Osaka Station for 103 years, but is now preserved at the Kyoto Railway Museum, and Araki's artwork is meant to symbolize the revival of the Fountain Boy in a new form. Araki had also said that he felt the inclusion of stands from JoJo's bizarre adventure in this piece were absolutely necessary, as he took inspiration from fountains in Roman tradition, which symbolized natural phenomena descending from the heavens purifying the world, and he thought stands were similar in that way. He also mentions the stands he included are in order of strength and power, and put November Rain at the top because it has the ability to make rain, and the Fountain Boy's pose is meant to resemble a rain-making ritual like a Hawaiian rain dancer. This feature also shows the creation process step by step, from the painting all the way to the assembly and its frame, as well as includes an article going into more detail on the creation process and Araki's thoughts on this project. The next feature is an excerpt from Araki's latest book release, How to Create a Villain, and is a general introduction to the book featuring some of Araki's staple manga philosophies, like the Royal Road and the 4 basic structure, which gives people a taste of what they can find in the full release, encouraging readers to go pick it up, which I'm sure will eventually be released in English as a continuation of Manga in Theory and Practice. But until then, we have been getting some fan translations, one of which was Araki's thoughts on AI art, which I already made a video on that you can check out after this video if you missed it. The next feature is 4 keywords to enjoy the JoJOLands, which is essentially a promotion for Part 9 that highlights its unique appeal with 4 keywords and phrases. The first of which is crime suspense, as JoJOLands embraces the genre of crime thriller that sees our protagonists embarking on heists and using their stands to steal by manipulating cameras, unlocking safes, and creating disguises. And this page says the reason why the protagonists fight is not to defeat the enemy, but to rise up, steal, and take. The next keyword is growth from immaturity, as the main protagonist, Jodio Joestar, is a reckless youth who exists within the grays of morality, and this extends into the entire main cast. The page says, the image of young people living this way is like walking a tightrope. It's so thrilling, and goes on to showcase the immaturity of the characters and highlights their potential for growth. The third keyword is adventures in Hawaii, showing the part's unique setting that gives the story a tropical charm and lots of natural scenery. And the fourth keyword is the enemy is huge enterprises. This turned out to be quite prophetic as of recent. So the main bad guy so far is a billion-dollar corporation and its CEO that are in control of massive amounts of land, which the page describes as a realistic confrontation that explores a new kind of evil for the series. And it turned out Araki was pretty on point there. And personally, JoJoLands has been some of the most fun I've ever had with JoJo, and I can't recommend it enough. So if you're not reading Part 9 yet, definitely get on that. And the end of this feature showcases the upcoming Jodio Medicos Super Action statue, which features his blue and gray color scheme with an interchangeable hood, as well as some iconic accessories from the part like his heisting gloves, a drawing of Pink Dark Boy, the diamond, the lava rock, and the enemy stand Cat's Eyes. But unfortunately, this figure is only purchasable for a few months and only through mail order using a code found in the January issue of Ultra Jump, so this first edition will mostly be limited to Japan, although I'm sure this will eventually get a second edition with a wider release, just in different packaging, and maybe some changes to the figure. So moving on in the magazine, the next feature is a 21-page one-shot manga called Toshikazu Hazamada's Questionable Adventure, written and illustrated by Kyosuke Utsuda, mostly known for his gag manga published in Shonen Jump, and is a longtime fan of Araki's work, referring to him as an eternal inspiration. So it's cool to see him get to create a work of his own in the world of JoJo. And of all of the characters to explore, he chooses Hazamada, one of the most forgotten minor villains from Part 4, which which is of course all a part of the gag, as this is the first gag JoJo spin-off, which just means it's a fully comedy-driven manga. And it's a pretty funny read, it's raunchy, we get to see Hazamada use his stand to try and create a girlfriend and other surface shenanigans around Morio, and it's just a very unserious story. Like how the setting is 1999 Morio, but the characters inexplicably have smartphones. It's all just part of the gag. And this does already have a fan translation that I'm sure you guys will be able to find. Next up is the second largest feature of the magazine, which is a celebration of all of the wonderful women in JoJo, highlighting the unyielding spirit, the deep love, and the strong hatred of the women who appear in parts 1 through 8, that has a bunch of different subsections, the first of which is a family tree showcasing all of the mothers from the original universe, starting with Erina to Lisa to Suzy Q to Holly to Tomoko to Jolyne's mom, and finally ending with Jolyne, the first woman main JoJo. And from the alternate universe, Lucy Steele gets a couple of pages dedicated to her, showing her strength and all of the villains she faced throughout part 7 that never broke her spirit. And occasionally placed in between these topics are tribute illustrations by various artists, drawing the women from JoJo in their own unique styles that are truly some beautiful pieces. The next topic is Noble Moments, that highlights the women who had a particular event that allowed their character to grow in a substantial way. For example, Trish started out as a spoiled girl protected by Bruno's team, then the character would have what they call a focus point. For Trish, this was her choosing to fight against BIG and protecting Giorno, and after this event she would awaken her stand, expressing her strength and desire to protect the team. And there was also focus point breakdowns for Reimi Sugimoto, Foo Fighters, Poco's sister, and Diego's mother. Next is a section all about Yukako that starts with a character profile and a bunch of general facts and personality traits for the character, followed by Yukako's lessons to winning over a lover, which goes through all of the key moments in her and Koichi's relationship throughout part 4, which eventually led to true love. So maybe if you have someone special in your life, follow the steps laid out by Yukako. Next up is one of my favorite sections design-wise, and is called the Revenge Files, that has some really cool FBI-style graphic design and highlights the women in JoJo who sought revenge, and lays out their motive, method, and aftermath, like Jolyne going after Romeo for setting her up, Hermes taking revenge on Sportsmax for killing her sister Gloria, Elizabeth Joestar who avenged her husband George, killing the Air Force commander and then went into hiding as Lisa, Hato Higashikata who was tricked by the rock human Damo and took revenge to save her family while breaking her heart, and Yukako who could be a bit jealous sometimes, and even Enya who sought revenge on Polnareff and Whole Horse after the death of her son Jay Guile. We then get a handful of pages dedicated to Yasuo Hirose that detail her character traits, personality, and story arc throughout JoJolion. And following that is a pretty great feature that shows some love to all of the unnamed women in JoJo, every single one of them, which is a full 6 pages and 140 characters in total. Well, technically a lot more than 140, as sometimes they'll group a bunch together if they're in the same panel, so it's a lot of women and a good chance to quiz yourself to see if you can remember when and where these characters appear. This next feature is for the women of the Higashikata family from part 8, and highlights the role they played through an article that's written and themed as if a reporter was covering a real-life true crime mystery story and is investigating their family, which gives insight into the characters' personalities, motives, and lore. Next up is the Stand Collection, which begins with a double-page spread of Cinderella's faces containing various characters. Another chance to quiz yourself to see how many you can identify. This topic then describes stands as the dresses of determination that the girls wear for battle, and is themed like a fashion magazine describing the stand users as the designers of their stands, and goes over every single female stand user from parts 3 to 8, starting all the way at the beginning with Nina, who possessed the Empress, and going to Kato and Space Trucking, which in total is 23 women stand users, with JoJolion taking the cake for the most in a single part. Our next feature is a personality quiz where you answer questions and will be led to a match with a woman from JoJo with 10 possible results. So for example, I'll run through it quickly and show you guys all of the pages so you can try to follow along if you want, as long as you don't mind turning your head sideways. So question 1, you're suddenly kissed by a strange man, how do you react? I'd probably go with the top answer, I couldn't help but slap him, so that would then lead me to question 6. Your respected teacher has given you a difficult problem, how do you solve it? I would probably give up if it really feels impossible, especially if it's a math problem. I can't stand that. And that takes me to question 11. I found a boy I like. Obviously this quiz is more for women, but I'll still go along with it. I would take the plunge and confess. No time to waste. If you like someone, just tell them. And that takes me to question 17. My dog has a toy and won't let it go. How do I get it back? I'm really not too stubborn, so I would probably just let him have it and wouldn't care that much. And that reveals my personality as B, which is most similar to Lisa, who is the popular type with excellent leadership skills and strong in adversity. And the other outcomes could be Jolyne if you have a strong sense of justice, Erina if you're the serious type, Lucy Steele if you're calm, Yasuro if you have a good sense of balance, Holly Joestar if you're a friendly person, Hermes if you're the protective big brother or sister type, Yukako if you're a passionate and loving person, Enya if you're cynical and pessimistic, and finally, if you have a good sense of style and taste, you'd be Trish. Next, we have a timeline of JoJo's serialization with a bunch of excerpts from Araki interviews throughout the years on his female characters. This then leads into an interview with Yeon-soo, a South Korean actress well known for her role in the Japanese TV drama The Tiger and Her Wings, who says she actually learned Japanese from watching JoJo. And the interview talks about her love for the series, including how she first encountered JoJo and the influence the characters have on her, where she says she first became aware of the series through the memes of JoJo poses online and eventually would watch Stone Ocean on Netflix because she found Jolyne appealing and absolutely loved it, and would end up watching the entire series from the beginning. And this feature on the wonderful women of JoJo concludes with 3 female manga artists showcasing some of their favorite illustrations by Araki, and speaking on what makes the art special. The first mangaka is Georgie Asakura, best known for A Perfect Day for Love Letters, and chooses illustrations of Giorno and Josuke. Giorno for its depiction of the relationship between stand and stand user, and Josuke because part 4 is her favorite part. Next is Yuki Suetsugu, best known for her manga Chihaya Furu, who chose 2 illustrations from Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe, who says she enjoys their use of color and patterns to convey tone. And last is Posuka Demizu, the illustrator for The Promised Neverland, who chose illustrations of Jodio and Hermes and Jodio and Dragona, which she praises for their complex poses of 2 people intersecting. This next feature is in between the 2 big topics of the magazine, so it's a bit of a break, and is a commemorative conversation between Mamoru Miyano, the actor for Dio, and the costume designer Yoshio Kubo from the Phantom Blood musical, who discussed the creation process for some of the costumes, the intention behind it, and what were some of their favorites, which also promotes the Blu-ray release. This now brings us to the main feature of the magazine, all about the Hitman team, which contains topics and graphic art dedicated to La Squadra Execuzione from Part 5, who are also featured on the magazine cover. This feature begins with character and stand profiles of all 9 members in the order they appear, followed by a multi-page collage of some of the most iconic lines from the team, which is pretty much all of their lines. This then leads into an interview with multiple of the animation directors that worked on adapting the Hitman team's episodes, and they share their experience representing these characters in anime form, as La Squadra had received some of the most changes and extra scenes out of any characters in the JoJo anime, which ultimately enhanced their presence in the story and had a lot of care put into them. The next topic is a fashion shack, where a fashion professional explains the outfits worn by the Hitman team, highlighting their coordination points and how their fashion provides glimpses into their humanity. And following this, we see a handful of real-life fashion outfits inspired by the Hitman team, and how the essence of their designs can translate to elegant and practical fashion. The next topic is La Squadra's Last Supper with Risotto Jesus, as all of the team members are named after food, so a chef and YouTuber, George Labo, created a recipe that tries to incorporate as many of the members as possible into a single dish, which turned out being Timballo Napolitano, which looks pretty tasty. Let's Study Abroad in Italy is our next feature, and shows some of the real-life locations and landmarks seen in Part 5 on a map of Italy, which is written in the theme of like a tourist brochure. And it's like, hey, while you're here, you might want to rent some places, and shows floor plans of the most iconic rooms from Part 5, kind of random, but we see inside Coco Jumbo, the Hitman team's hideout, and Giorno's dorm, for anyone that was curious about those floor plans. And next up, we have the results of a fan survey asking readers how they would use the stands from the Hitman team in their daily lives. One reader says they don't like crowds, so they would use Man in the Mirror to enjoy crowded places to themselves, like museums. Another reader says with little feet, we could solve the problems of humanity by making everyone small, so we would have more than enough space for everyone and be able to eat as much expensive meat as we wanted. Another fan says that they would use the Grateful Dead to ripen their avocados and age wine, and you could also use it as a garbage disposal, and it would be very eco-friendly and helpful to speed up the decomposition of waste. That's probably my favorite so far. I hate waiting for the fruit to ripen, and then you forget about it, and before you know it, it's gone bad. Another fan suggested to use Beach Boy and White Album together to flash freeze the fish that you catch to keep it fresh while bringing it home. and another person wants to make a wedding ring out of Metallica's blood powers. I gotta say, these are all very creative ideas. The next topic is all about the Stan babyface and proposes the question if a real-life AI would be more powerful than the Stan, and goes through a bunch of points comparing their learning capabilities and evolution potential. We then get a few what-if scenarios discussing all of the members from the Hitman team and Bruno's team together, and who would be best friends, and the results for best compatibility are Formaggio and Fugo, Pesci and Narancia, I definitely see that one, Malone and Ghiaccio, and Risotto and Bruno. We then get a short article about Italian trivia and what the characters teach us about the country, followed by the last survey response, which are fan letters to what the fans would like to say to the Hitman team. And it cannot be understated how much Japanese readers love La Squadra, with nothing but love and admiration for these beautiful assassins. And that brings us to the final topic for the feature, which is the short story, My Prized Hook and Line, which is yet to be translated but is starring Prosciutto and Pesci, and hopefully something I get to cover in the future when it gets translated is a bit more accessible. And getting into the later half of the magazine, we have a new chapter of the Cool Shock B.T. one-shots, titled Cool Shock Guy B.T. The Smoker Under Arms Incident. So again, no translation yet, but since this is a manga, I can still get a general vibe of the story, and it was already described as a parody/recreation of Araki's first manga, Poker Under Arms. And we see Cool Shock B.T. gambling on a game of roulette, with smoking and guns, and looks to have a lot of that classic JoJo gambling action. The next feature is a JoJo Quiz, with 9 questions taken from the JoJo's Bizarre Quizzes 500 book. So let's see how well you guys can do. Feel free to pause the video if you need to think or record your score and leave it in the comments below. So question 1 I'm actually going to omit as we're working off Google Translations here, and it's a match the dialogue to the character question, which would be pretty difficult. So question 2. When Polnareff is turned into a child by Alessi's stand, what kind of game does he play with this female character? Is it number 1, Sugoroku, number 2, playing cards, number 3, rock, paper, scissors, or number 4, Shiratori? And the answer is number 3, rock, paper, scissors. So question 3, due to the power of the Holy Corpse, choose all of the following objects that intersect with Hot Pants' body. So the answer can be multiple. Number 1, spiders. Number 2, flies. Number 3, fingernails. Number 4, parts of a window. And the answer is all of the above. Question 4, which of these characters are Jodio's mother? Take a good look, and the answer is number 2, that is Barbara Ann Joestar. Question 5, in order to maintain the effects of the Stan's Cinderella, what important thing must you do every 30 minutes except for when you're sleeping to keep the Stan's effect? Number 1, look in the mirror. Number 2, apply lipstick. Number 3, draw on eyeliner. Or number 4, fix your hair. And the answer is number 2, applying lipstick. Question 6, how did Erina react when Joseph asked her about her relationship with Speedwagon? Number 1, kept silent. Number 2, blushed. Number 3, answered he is her best friend. Or number 4, she got angry and hit Joseph with an umbrella. And the answer is number 4, she hit Joseph with an umbrella. Question 7, what Italian city does Ghiaccio want everyone to call by the way it sounds in Italian? No multiple choice for this one, and the answer is Venice, which he can't stand and wants everyone to call it Venezia. Question 8, when Formaggio uses his stand to shrink Narancia, what insect did he use to make Narancia reveal the location of the boss's daughter? Number 1, bees. Number 2, ants. Number 3, scorpions. Or number 4, spiders. And the answer is number 4, spiders. And for the last question, Malone believes what is most important about the mother's behavior in order to create the Stan babyface. No multiple choice, and the answer is how to kiss is most important. So let me know how many questions you got right. And that brings us to the final feature of the magazine, which is a conversation between Araki and his longtime editor and friend Ryosuke Kabashima in the summer of this year, with the theme of good food, good wine, and good music, where the two were asked to make a list of albums they wanted to talk about during the interview. Araki had chosen Diamond Life by Sade, Back in Black by AC/DC, Still I'm Talking by Pat Metheny Group, and Sign O' the Times by Prince. While Ryosuke had chosen Diamond Dust by Jeff Beck, Europe 1970 Live Concert by Canned Heat, Elgar and Delius Cello Concert performed by Jacqueline Dupré, 1984 by Van Halen, and Cosmos Factory by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And throughout the interview, the two would discuss their thoughts on the music they had chosen, as well as their personal connection to music, first experiences, and how it helps them creatively, as well as discussing the food and wine they enjoyed, which was some roasted tomato over spaghetti and Spanish omelet with white wine, all dishes made by Araki himself. And that is everything everything from this issue of JoJo Magazine, and honestly the first time I've really taken a full look at one of these. I usually just get the highlights, but I'm really glad I did. It was a lot of fun seeing all of the spirit put into each and every feature, and seeing how much this series means to people all over the world. So I hope you guys enjoyed my tour, making the best of what I could with Google Translations, but I think it worked out. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful holiday season, and thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all again real soon in a new video. Peace.